Hey everybody, this is Josh Lindsay from the American Business Broker Podcast, the show that gives you full access to successful business owners and what it takes to sell a business. We break down the deals, give you full access to the owners, and as always, I share my secrets to selling a company. Enough talk, let's go! We got Jeremy Neves on the podcast. Jeremy, how you doing?
Doing great, how are you?
It's good to see you. You know, I call you Jeremy, but a lot of people refer to you as Legend.
Oh, stop.
That's happened a few times.
It happened,
it
happened one time.
But the guy said it like 7 times.
Okay.
It's like legend.
Yeah, he oversold it, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
How do you become a legend?
I'm not a legend.
All right. No,
I'm not a legend.
Anyway, so super excited to have you on the podcast. Obviously, we're friends.
Yeah.
You know, we've spent some time together. We're doing some stuff now together. But really what this podcast is about is we're trying to give the listeners and just people in general out there just like an inside look into what it's like to start a company, but then more importantly, what it takes to sell a business.
Yeah.
And so that's why I brought you on. I know you've had a successful exit.
Yeah.
And we haven't even really dove into the details, so this is kind of going to be kind of firsthand for me too.
I haven't talked about it since it happened, so this will be fun.
No, this will be good. So let's just kind of peel into it. But since there's probably like 3 listeners on this first episode, my mom, my wife,
Hi, Mom. Hi, wife.
and my bulldog.
Yeah, Marshmallow.
Why don't you just start off by just telling us a little bit about like the industry that you worked in, just the company that you sold. How did you start that business? What was it about? Like, what was the name of the business?
Yeah.
Let's just start there.
Yeah, so the company was Excite Satellite.
Okay.
It was in the direct sales, door-to-door industry.
So knocking on doors,
selling telecommunications. So internet, home phone, and satellite TV were the main products when we first started.
Okay.
That expanded into other products, but we were mainly a dealer for DirecTV and Dish Network.
Okay.
So originally starting the business, we would go around, we'd knock on doors, and we'd see somebody who'd be running Dish Network, and we'd say, hey, how's your service working for you? And we'd be able to save them money on their bill, lower their price, get them all the channels they were currently watching, upgrade their equipment, because all the new customers get the new equipment.
Got it.
But the way we did that was by switching them from Dish Network to DirecTV, or vice versa, DirecTV to Dish Network.
So you could sell both.
You could sell both.
Oh, interesting.
When we started.
When you started.
And then that changed, and you had to pick a side, and you had to go exclusive one.
So give me an idea of that package price. Like, are we talking like a $300 sale? Like, what does that look like?
No, TV people, I guess people don't really know anymore because everyone's streaming now. That's another good part of this. I'm sure we'll talk about that industry is dead. But at the time, somebody's starting out, they're as low as $30 a month for a TV package, 2-year contracts. $30 all the way up to $130. The average person was probably paying $50, $60 a month the first year, and then after that it was jumping up to like $75 to $100 a month.
Depending on like what they were choosing.
How many TVs they were doing, if they got movie channels, they got the NFL package, things like that. So I guess there's some crazy packages people could be paying $300 a month, but it's a 2-year contract and they're paying, let's say an average of $100 a month.
Okay. So how did you, just because I don't even know this.
Yeah. No, it's good.
So what did you do? Do you go to DirecTV and Dish Network and say like, hey, we want to go out and represent your services? Mm-hmm. Like, what do you do? Are you a broker?
Be a dealer.
Are you a dealer?
We're a dealer.
What is that?
Yeah, you're a dealer for them. So
license required?
No, there's no license required. You can be a dealer. There was 10,000 dealers.
Independent dealers.
Most of them are ma and pa's. You got these, store locations on State Street that you'd see that they're like, we offer this.
Yeah.
And they do 1 or 2 accounts a month. Right. And then you'd have, your RC Willie's and whatever would be a dealer. You had all the different people. But yeah, you had to fill out a application to be a dealer, an approved dealer, an authorized dealer for DirecTV.
How did you know to do that? Like that?
So I started selling for somebody else.
Okay, so you were selling for someone else.
Yep.
You were obviously good at it.
2008, started selling for another company. I was a sales rep.
Door to door?
Door to door, selling Dish and DirecTV here in Utah. They were primarily an event dealer. So there's all sorts of different niches that people chose. Some were retail, some were events, some were door to door. They were primarily an event dealer, and so they do these big home shows. And so I started out with them doing home shows, and then we started doing some door to door. And I had started in the middle of the summer in 2008 and did some events. Then we did some door-to-door just here locally. And I went from a sales rep to a manager. I had reps underneath me. And then I went from a manager to a regional manager. I had managers and reps underneath me. And then we decided to do our first summer sales program, which is really big in Utah.
Yeah.
It's alarm companies, pest control companies, all going out selling door-to-door. and
What
we went
company
out.
was that?
It was called Groove Satellite.
Groove, yeah. Oh, that's right. We talked about that
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you break off, and I think a fair question, and this is something that I believe in, but I've always thought that in order to be really successful in business, the best way to do that is to like get a master's degree under the tutelage of someone else, and that's essentially kind of what you did. You obviously worked hard. I'm not taking that away
100%.
from you, but you like went from a sales rep, you went up, became a manager. You know, you kind of learned the inner workings of the business.
Yes.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but this does happen. They probably didn't present you with enough of an opportunity to stay. And so talent leaves.
Yeah.
Is that a fair statement?
Close. So, I mean, they brought me in, like they were offering me ownership. I was in, and I literally got a master's degree underneath these guys.
Yeah.
I was sitting in the board meetings. I was making top level decisions. I was able to understand what was really going on. They showed me all of everything, which was really powerful. And I learned a ton. What actually ended up happening was I grew so fast and they grew so fast. I was young in business, obviously. They were young in this industry. I was 21.
Woo!
I was 21, and I had 60 guys underneath me when we started our first summer program.
Okay.
We left the state, which was their first time leaving the state to do this.
Done.
You got to realize when you leave the state, and this is going to be some of the stuff we talk about of the challenges of this business, is you've got door-to-door sales guys that are mostly college age, right? During summer, when they're out of college, they leave their home state, they go to a different state. We've got to get housing, which has got to be short-term housing for them.
Right.
We got to get furniture set up for them, short-term furniture. Then we got to have technicians there to fulfill all of the sales that we do, to install them. We got to have our licenses to sell in those markets. I mean, all the stuff it takes to go out of market. And we went from 0 to 60, literally.
And you were 21?
21 years old.
You were in charge?
I was. Yeah, kind of.
So what you're saying is you were a highly responsible 21-year-old.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was very irresponsible.
I'm just saying.
All of us were irresponsible.
It's really young to go out with 60 guys.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, we were in 5 different markets.
Wow.
And, we didn't know how to do market research. So here's what happened. In a nutshell, one of our markets, I remember first day we sold 26 accounts, which was great. That's a lot of accounts.
Sounds good.
Not one of them qualified.
Qualified as
Credit
far
qualified.
as credit qualified.
And so it was a huge eye opener. That market was closed within 2 weeks.
So why, sorry, and I'm just going to keep asking questions because I don't know anything about the business. What do you mean credit qualified? Like they're not just allowed to pay month to month? Like
No.
they're running credit
it's a
checks
2-year
on Dish Network?
Yeah. When anyone got set up with their satellite TV, with
it's a
Dish,
contract.
It's a contract.
So they gotta
we're putting
qualify.
$2,000 worth of equipment in their home.
That makes sense.
That they're leasing
All
from
right.
us.
All right.
And so they had to credit qualify for this, and nobody qualified. And so again, market research. So there was a lot of learning experiences. At the time, I blamed the company, like I was young and I was like, you guys didn't know this stuff. We were getting
shut down that market and you were upset. You're like, hey, we did this.
We lost a lot of guys. They went home. They didn't have success. They were straight commission guys.
Yeah.
So they eat what they kill.
Yeah.
So they sell an account. If it doesn't get installed, they don't get paid. So I had guys calling me going like, I can't buy lunch today.
What am I going to do?
Yeah. And so we had to, we started the summer with 60 guys. We finished with 12.
So you come back, and then so where were you then?
I felt very responsible for all the people that I put my name on the line for. And the reason I left, to come back full circle to your question, the reason I left wasn't that they didn't give me a good enough opportunity, is that I needed to have more control over the outcome because my reputation was on the line.
So is that common in the door-to-door space? Like meaning like you're a rock star, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're like, hey, go out and get some guys because you want to build a team, and that's how you're going to make override and stuff like that. But because you're a rock star, you're kind of putting your credibility. You're like, hey, come follow me.
Yeah.
I'm going to help you make money in the door-to-door summer sales game.
Yeah.
And so if the company kind of doesn't back you correctly, essentially those guys kind of get mad at you.
You're all an independent contractor, so you're your own business owner.
Okay.
Even down to the rep, he's running his own business. I'm running my own business, but I'm under their support and tutelage, right?
So if you're not with the right company, then it can be tough.
And they weren't willing to take responsibility. They weren't wanting to pay people some of the monies that they owed. I ended up getting all of my 12 people their money, but they didn't pay me. And at the time it was, we'll pay you if you stick around, but if you leave, we won't. And I was like, it's the other way around. You pay me and maybe I'll stay. And so it was tough. It was really tough.
So here's where you are. You're there. You clearly didn't make a ton of money that summer?
No.
Okay, I'm just clarifying.
No.
And so when you left, like how did you start your business? Did you self-fund it? Did you get investors? Like what did you do?
Yeah, we self-funded it. So my brother-in-law and I.
Give me like a ballpark. 10 G's?
Less than that.
$10?
$2,500 maybe?
$2,500.
Let me tell you how
business. I hope people hear this.
Yeah.
Like so many people think you got to go out and like raise money.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I need $100,000 to go start this business. $2,500.
And it maybe not even that. What do you think that was for, let me tell you what it was. When we started the company, it was me and my brother-in-law, and we were in an apartment complex right by UVU. He had a 3-bedroom apartment, and it was just him and his wife, my sister, and they had 2 extra bedrooms. So what we did is we went out. We knew how to sell, right?
Yeah.
So that was the benefit. When you know how to sell,
right,
you can sell your way out of every problem. And so we started the company. We wrote, we got our dealer license and everything else, which to become a dealer and going through that process, setting up a business, setting up a bank account, all that stuff's hundreds of dollars, right?
Yeah, sure.
And then some of those different elements, maybe it was $1,000 to get that going. But once we had our approved to go out and sell, we got our distributor who gave us all of our equipment. Well, we went out and knocked on doors. We sold an account. Once we had the account sold, we then ordered inventory.
Got it.
Which we had to pay for.
Overextended.
Yeah, so we paid for that inventory, which cost us a couple $1,000s.
Yeah. And
then we had a technician go the next day and install that equipment. And once that got installed, a week and a half later, we got paid for that.
So you're like on a 10-day
10-day
net?
10-day, yep.
That's not too bad. So you needed some float.
We needed float to get this started. Within a week, we were positive, and we never went negative again the rest of the 10 years later.
It's really cool.
So
10-day float's great. Like
that's not bad.
Kudos to like Dish or whoever's paying that. Like meaning that's really good for the rep or the dealer. Because if it was like 30 or 60 or 90-day terms, it'd be hard to make it, man. You'd need some cash behind you in order to stretch that. So 10-day terms is good. So all right, so you're out there. You're selling, things are going well. Obviously, you sell some accounts, now you're cash flow positive. So what did you do to grow that business? Like, was it just recruiting guys? Was it systems? Like, what are we thinking?
Yeah, I mean, all of it. So it was a very seasonal business when we first started. Summer program. So it was 5 months out of the year from we'll call it April till September.
Why?
Because we were recruiting college-age students, and we were taking them out of the state. In order to get them to focus and actually work, we needed to take them away from their natural habitat.
Too many chicks?
Yeah, too many chicks, too many opportunities, just, all the stuff that could distract them, right?
I got it.
And this is a hard job. You're cutting your teeth and you're knocking doors all day long. And so in order to keep their focus, that was the model that we had learned and that we were committed to. So, when we started the company, it was in 2009 in September. We went out and sold in the off season to generate capital and everything else. By the time summer came, we felt comfortable. Again, from my previous experience, you can't outsell the machine. We had grown sales too big, and they couldn't support the sales. Installs were getting delayed, which caused cancellations. We weren't able to pay for.
So how do you pace that?
So what we did is it was me, my brother-in-law, and I think we had 3 other people that we were able to take out for our first summer.
Okay.
That's all we felt comfortable that we could do. That's it.
Because you didn't want to outpace.
We didn't want to outpace it. So we took, I think there was 5 of us. We went out to Indiana. We knocked on doors and sold. My apartment, because I was the only single one, the rest were married. My apartment was the office.
Okay.
It was a 3-bedroom apartment. 2 of the bedrooms had all of the inventory. So we had to have, a bunch of dish kits, all the receivers and remotes and all that stuff there.
This is so wild.
I had a printer. I had a printer and a computer there, and every morning I'd wake up early and I'd print out the route for the technicians, and we had 3 or 4 technicians that would show up at my house. I'd give them all their inventory. I'd give them their routes for the day, and then we'd run our morning meeting. We'd go out and we'd set our goals for the day, and the 5 of us would go out and knock doors, sell all day, and then techs would come back that night, give me the inventory,
So obviously we're going to get into like the sell of your business, and obviously you made some money and all that stuff, and obviously you made some good money during that. But like the key here is, I just feel like so many people are just not willing to put in the work. Like when I hear that story, no offense, that sounds like it sucked.
Oh, it did.
Like you just moved to Indiana.
It did and it didn't.
I know. But I'm just saying, like, it's not glamorous. Let me say that.
No.
Like, not glamorous, not sexy. You're not out there like rolling a Benz, like in a 3-piece suit. Like, hey, I'm here to start a business. Like, it's a straight grind.
Oh yeah.
It's like nearly serving a mission.
Oh yeah.
Except you're selling Dish Network services.
Yeah.
Like, it's not sexy.
Yeah.
But there's so much money in the non-sexy.
Yeah.
Right.
So much.
It's just it's interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, so what were some of the obstacles as you were growing? Like, you talked about not outpacing the sales, but you start in 2009, you're out there doing that. In 9, and then you sold when?
19.
Okay. So give me that 9-year run of growth how big you got, and then just the obstacles as you paced along. Walk me through that.
So year one, there's 5 of us. We go out, and between the 5 of us, we sold about 1,000 accounts.
Is that good?
Yeah, we did about $1 million.
That's awesome.
Year one, $1 million. And
what does the commission like that look like for you?
We're probably taking 20% net to the bottom line,
Couple
30%.
$100,000, you split it between the 3
Yeah.
of you. So
Now
you
also
made decent money.
We were paying ourselves commissions based off of the deals that we were doing as well.
So 20% to the owner net, but then you also got your commission.
Your commission because our personal accounts.
Over $100,000?
Yeah, probably.
In the summer-ish?
But everything we made, I mean, I think I was only paying myself about $3,500 a month for the first 3 years.
Yeah.
I was, again, single.
Just kept rolling.
And everything was rolling back into, building the business.
Buying more equipment. Recruiting more guys, whatever you had to do.
Everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go from 9 to like 14.
So 2009, I guess that summer was 2010. We did about 1,000 accounts. The next year, I think we did about 1,500 accounts.
Okay, so a little growth.
The year after that, we did 2,500, 3,000 accounts.
How many guys on that? About 15 there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the average, guy was doing 120, 150 accounts.
Adding like 5 guys a year?
Yeah. Yeah. So 5. The next year, I think we had 10 guys. The next year we had, 15 guys.
Okay.
And then we went, and I was out for the summer for the first 3 years. So the whole first year, I was doing everything. I would answer the phone and customer service at times in a different voice, like doing all the different stuff. But year 3 was my last year out there the entire year. I was married at this point. My wife came out with me.
She sold?
She just came out. She stayed in the apartment, and that was a rough year.
I'm sure. Yeah,
came home to some dinners though. That was nice. And then year 4 is the first year that I wasn't out there. I think we had 3 offices, and I'd say probably 30 guys. 10 guys in office.
In 14?
In 14.
And you got to stay back.
And I got to stay back, but I was out for, the first month is like the most important. Make sure guys get their feet wet, they get off the ground. Brand new managers. They were a rep the previous year, and now they're a manager, so they're trying to adapt to that.
Yeah, got it.
So I'm out there helping the entire first month, making sure things are smooth. And then I'd come out, 2 or 3 more times and do like a week where I'd get on the doors with them, show them how to sell, train in the meetings, everything else.
Okay.
And then, again, I'm guessing now when I think about the different years, but we went from, 3 offices, probably 4 or 5 offices. Every year we grew over the previous year for 10 straight years. And our last year we had 400 people working for us.
Wow.
We had over 1,000 throughout the time.
18, 19, right around
This
there?
is 18. Yeah.
Okay.
Over 400 people.
So right about when people started to approach you to sell or whatever.
Yeah. We had actually been approached 2 years prior.
Had you?
A couple different times.
Okay.
But because of our growth trajectory at the time, it just didn't make sense.
So walk me through that. So, and this is interesting for people. So somebody just called you out of the blue.
Yeah.
Like, was it a competitor? Like, what did that
It was
look
actually,
like?
so I told you there's 10,000 dealers. The top 6 were in Utah.
That's amazing.
1 was in Arizona and 5 were in Utah.
Right.
Maybe it was the top 5 were
you guys
total.
were doing something right.
Yeah, we were doing it right? We were recruiting the return missionaries. We were building, guys were used to door to door. We had kind of a system here. And so we had actually created kind of an alliance because there was so much contention in recruiting your guys away and everything else. We kind of created an alliance where it's like, hey, we're not going to recruit each other's guys. We're going to play cordial. We created a board where we shared best practices with each other. We really had an abundant mindset.
Interesting.
As much as there were still some issues,
some crossover.
There was
leaving
there, but we were much more cordial. So at that time, one of the 5 got approached and had the idea of like, the whole initiative was like, let's bring us all together.
Oh, interesting.
And
like a massive force. Okay.
And so they brought a private equity company to the table.
Got it.
And got us all to sit down, and we all listened and said, okay, well, let's entertain this.
Okay.
And we went down that process.
What did the multiple look like? And walk the listeners through what a multiple is.
Yeah. So at the time, so the multiple was, I think when they sat down with us, it was probably like a 5 multiple.
So 5 times what?
EBITDA.
Okay.
So
What's
earnings
EBITDA?
Before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization.
What did your EBITDA look like? Just ballpark it. 500 grand? Were you at a million?
We were probably 500. I'm trying to think of what year that was. So I think our offer, we were each going to walk with about 3 million each.
Okay.
I was 50-50 with a partner. Yeah. So we're going to get about $3 million each. Okay. So we were about 600,000.
So they were going to offer like 5 or 6 million.
We were about $1 million.
Then, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You must have been about
we were around a 5 million, I think.
$1 million in profit.
Yeah.
They offer 5.
Yeah.
You know, if it was a $5 or $6 million offer.
Yeah.
Because you and your partner were going to walk with like $2 or $3 million.
Yeah.
But at the time, your trajectory was just.
We were growing 50% a year at that point, or
so
30, 50%. Yeah. And we were getting more profitable as we were growing as well, because we had kind of already
better
our
systems.
Expenses in place.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't need a bigger office. We didn't need, you know, there was opportunity there. And so, but by the time that negotiation, once they got through everything and they understood our business, it was like a 2.5 multiple.
Oh, so they walked you back.
Yeah. It was like, hey, let's get you excited. And then like, okay, here we go. And it was.
Which is common. Like,
totally.
So this is what I do.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
We're working together. And I always tell people, like in the private equity space or like family office space, they're really good at what they do.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
But what happens is they'll get in there, they start peeling the onion, and then they find every reason under the sun to just kind of whittle away at the valuation. So they'll come in real heavy. And if you're not prepared for it, no offense, you were repping yourself, right? But this is a lot of the reason why they'll hire somebody like me to combat that, to validate your valuation, to keep it strong. Because if you're not, the sharks will come and they'll chip away at it and they'll say, well, you know, now it's really $2.5 million. So then I'm sure the offer wasn't even remotely palpable. You're like, that's what, 18 months worth of earnings for you?
That's
like,
what it was.
We'll just keep it.
18 months.
So the deal falls apart.
Yeah.
Is that right? The first initial kind of offer there.
Yep.
Did any of the other guys take an offer?
No.
No,
because it was an all or nothing deal.
They wanted all 5 or nothing. Okay. And obviously everybody was like, yeah, 2.5 is not going to work.
Yep.
Okay. So that's probably like 15, 16? Okay, so 3-4 years before you actually sold.
Yeah.
So you grow and you get to 400 reps. What was
That's reps and techs.
What was your gross revenue at that time? Like when you were at your peak?
20 million.
Wow, that's fantastic. So you're at 20 million revenue, 400 reps and techs, and then let's talk about the offer process. So did it come in 18?
Yeah.
Okay.
Came in 18.
And was it a competitor? Was it a private equity group? Like what was it?
So this is what's interesting. We were at a leadership retreat.
Okay.
I had my top 26 key people in the company for 3 days talking about our vision, how we were going to, what our culture
private
was.
Company retreat?
Yeah.
Just your
my company.
Not like a Tony Robbins.
No.
Okay.
Just us.
Just you guys.
Just us.
Okay.
We had them in the Hard Rock. It was the Hard Rock Hotel. It's now the Virgin Hotel in Vegas.
Yeah.
We were in a conference room 3 days. We were doing different events, dinners, whatever, but we were mapping out the future and what our growth looked like and where we were wanting to go. And we're 2 days into this and we get a call from AT&T, who is, so like I said, we were doing Dish and Direct at the beginning. We went exclusive DirecTV. Then DirecTV got acquired by AT&T a couple years later. We're now 3 years probably deep with
phone
AT&T.
Just rings?
Phone rings. It's AT&T. It's our lead contact. And they said, hey, we need to talk to you guys. You guys sitting down? Like, yeah. And so my partner and I got together and they got on the phone and they said, hey, we have an initiative. We want to consolidate the door-to-door space. Like, what does that mean? They said, you need to merge with number one. We were number 2 in the country at this time. You need to merge with number 1. And we said, yeah, no thanks. And they're like, no, this is something that you've got to do.
They had to wait.
What if we don't? And they said, we'll find a way to terminate you.
Oh, so I mean, gun to the head.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, gun to the head. I mean, so that's tough because they control the product, right? They controlled everything.
Yeah,
so
everything.
Did they give you any reason why they wanted you to merge? It was just a consolidation.
This was
move?
coming, and we knew it was coming along the way. So there was a lot of political things going on the back end. I don't know if this was necessarily AT&T or if it was the distributor. There was a lot of stuff going on. What we had seen in the previous 3 years was multiple companies get frivolous termination letters and then a call right after saying, here's your opportunity. You can merge with this number 1 company. And
did that number 1 company like have a backdoor
there's some stuff going on.
Because it seems odd why this number 1 company all of a sudden just getting sweetheart acquisitions.
They got 3 of them leading up to us.
Doesn't it sound like a little sweetheart?
And the year prior, they were 24 hours away from closing another company to go with them. And we found out about it. I had their owner in my basement till 3 a.m. and we made a deal and I got them to merge with us.
I wonder how, I mean, we will never know, right? Yeah, but it seems like there's a little bit of a sweetheart relationship.
There was some stuff going on that's definitely shady, right?
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot we could talk about in this, but it was very, very, very unusual what was going on. We were really unhappy. The cultures were misaligned. There was a lot of stuff. AT&T,
with 1 and 2,
not with 1 and 2, with AT&T.
Okay.
And
corporate.
Very corporate.
Yeah.
I mean, DirecTV was a dream to work with. Okay. AT&T was a nightmare to work with. From day one, we didn't like it. I mean, you got to realize we're planning all the way up our whole off season until summer. April comes and it's like go time. Everything's in place. Compensation plans. All of our negotiations were done. There was multiple times where in March they came to us and changed our compensation
so that you could.
We had to change our compensation to our reps.
You wouldn't make any money.
And it's like it cost us money, it cost us relationships, it cost us credibility. And so that's why we were looking at like, how do we get out of this? I was literally praying for opportunities, like looking at different ways we could diversify.
Jesus,
and
the wheel.
Yeah, right. And so when this happened, it was blindsided, but not really. We're like, we knew this was coming at some point, right? And we called our attorneys and we thought about like, how do we fight this, whatever. We're like, we're not happy. Like my partner and I that night stayed up all night because we had our guys waiting for us next day.
So this is like a forced merger.
Merger.
It's a unique position.
Yeah.
You've got a really unique story where, the parent company comes and says, hey, this is going to happen or else.
Yep.
So you're there. What was there a due diligence period?
Not really.
I was going to say there probably wouldn't need to be because
this whole thing happened. They told us we had 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And we're like, yeah, right.
2 weeks.
It ended up being 30, maybe 45 days.
Okay, so this happens, and it's a merger. Was there a buyout?
Yes.
Any buyout? Any payout? Any comp?
Yeah. So we didn't think that these guys were going to have to do anything, right? But the way that this is structured is 99% of your compensation is upfront. Commission, we get paid 10 days after our job's installed. Yeah, right. We get paid. Right. Now there is a chargeback period if somebody cancels within their 2-year contract. They have a holdback on that. Yeah. And then there's a residual pay. That residual pay had been building for 10 years. It's really the incentive to stick around and grow in the business and everything else. Yeah. So it was thick. And so we had that. We also had a protection plan, that we offered to customers that allowed them to, we would warranty service calls and different benefits that we would provide to them. And so in that buyout, what they agreed to do was to pay us some of our residual. The residual that we had created up until that point for a period of time. And then also our protection plan was still, we got to keep that. And then each of the jobs going forward, we would get a percentage of.
Okay. So there was some forecasted revenue that had to be accounted for. So that's where the buyout happened then. Okay.
Yep.
So was there a formal offer?
Yeah.
Who prepared it? Was it AT&T's attorney? Was it Number One's attorney?
Number One.
Number One prepared it. Okay. Local law firm? Were they easy to work with? Were they difficult?
No. Well, again, we had a gun to our head.
Just asking. Yeah. No. I mean, you didn't have much choice, but so they just came in hard.
Yeah.
This is how it's going to be. Yep. Here's your offer.
Yep.
We're not really willing to change a whole lot.
The benefit they had was that AT&T was hanging over our head saying, you've got to get this done by this time. And so as much as we kept trying to
hire a lawyer?
Change details. Yeah, totally.
Okay. So they helped you a little bit.
Yeah.
Did the lawyer revise your agreement?
Tried to.
I was going to say, was it met with opposition? It had to have been. They had everything they needed.
Yeah.
Dang, man, what a unique situation to be in. And I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Only just because you'd worked so hard to build something. And obviously it was kicking off cash. It's creating this great life.
That was the discouraging part, was that we couldn't keep running it ourselves.
Yeah. It was going to end either way.
Yeah. And selling it wasn't going to make sense. Once we realized the value of that business is in, you've got a high paying job. You don't have a business.
No, I get it. But still, high-paying job. Keep rolling.
Oh yeah, we're making
you could stack
millions of dollars every year.
Millions of dollars. You're doing $20 million in revenue. I mean, it's kicking off profit for you and your partner, and things are going well.
Yeah.
And just to be told, hey, this is going to end, and you have to merge. That is tough. Tough business.
You know what's crazy? 18 months later, that business that took us over was done.
We're gonna get there. Just jumping ahead. Let me remind you, this is my podcast.
Sorry.
Just joking,
you had me down and then dumped, so I was like, I want to get out of here.
I mean, I'm just more like
I get it.
fascinated between, it's not even a hostile takeover. it's like your analogy of gun to the head is like the best way to put it, because you didn't have a choice. It's like a narco move. It's like, hey, what up? It's Pablo Escobar.
There's people
to do this.
I know there's only 3 people listening to this, but
3.
But there might be, and one of them might, they might be like, you know what, you've got a case here, and we've been approached by a lot of people with AT&T. Yeah, there's some antitrust and some issues there, but
we'll have to do another podcast about. Sometimes it's just better to cut your losses and
that's where
keep
I'm
it moving, right?
Yeah.
Because I've got plenty of losses and you just keep it moving.
Yeah.
You just keep it moving. But so was there a transition period?
Not really. I mean,
no transition period.
They gave us an opportunity to stick around. They gave us an opportunity to be more involved. They gave us an opportunity to help grow. They gave us whatever.
What does that mean? Like in your offer, did it say anything about you and your partner have to remain in this position for 30, 60, 90 days, 6 months, whatever it is? Because in typical offers, there will be a transition period. So that's what I'm asking. Was there any language like that?
That was in the discussions. And in my first meeting was, as soon as this is done, I am no longer involved. That was my...
Wow.
I wanted nothing to do with it. Same.
Both of you guys were just done and out.
And
they took it?
You got to realize this is one of our competitors. We've been forced into this. Our culture was different than theirs. The reason guys were with us and not with that company was because of our culture.
Yeah.
It was, and it wasn't like, I mean, I could be cordial with those guys. Those guys are great and they've done some really good things. I could learn a lot from them as well. But I was already done with the business. I was ready to move on as well.
Yeah.
We had pigeonholed ourselves into, we had one contract, that was 99% of our business. We had some other contracts that we did we were dealers for others, but we had gotten ourselves so deep in with one person who really treated us like we worked for them. And I wanted to run my own business.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So I was just like, you know what?
You were done.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. And maybe there's a part of that where it's like, man, you cost yourself a lot of money. I did. But I knew I would much rather cut losses and move forward energetically. Yeah. This is going to be a good learning experience for me. I'm going to have my integrity and I'm going to move forward and I'm going to let this be a good lesson for me.
So, I mean, the next question, like I said, when you sold, what emotions did you experience? But a lot of them were bad. Most people, when they sell, there's a little bit of success, victory, etc. But for you, I mean, it was, you were not happy.
Yeah.
You were not happy.
At the time I had this, I had been doing a ton of personal development.
Okay.
Luckily the previous 2 years I had just gotten into personal development and I'd really started being introspective and figuring out who I was and what I wanted and
accountability.
Yeah. Accountability and things like that. And so my initial response was this is going to be a moment in my life that's going to define me. I'm going to look back and be so grateful for. And I had a lot of positive outlook, on it. I was like, this is going to be a defining moment for me that I'm going to look back and be so grateful it happened. Right. And I immediately started, looking to the future and whatever else. It was a few months later that it all hit me and I went, okay.
A few months after
this was all over.
Okay.
And
what hit you?
My identity.
What do you mean?
It was an identity crisis.
So tied up in it?
Yeah, I realized how much my identity was tied in what I did, my title, my accomplishments.
You know what that makes you?
Human.
Normal. It's so many people run businesses for so many years, and it is a huge part of their life. Yeah. And that's why when a lot of people sell, they go through this emotional wave of identity crisis. It's arguably as close to raising a baby as you can get. I mean, you spent what, 12 years in it?
10.
I mean, you nurtured that thing, right? You grew that thing. It became its own thing, and then all of a sudden it's just gone. And in a hostile way. So you're sitting there kind of dealing with an identity crisis. How did you process that?
It was fascinating. I actually talked to a lot of different people. Because I had spent so many years wanting to be where I was. I had a lot of money because I had saved well. I had invested well. I was in a good place. I was I had dreamt of the time when I didn't have to show up and put out fires. There was a huge weight off my shoulders, right? And then when it sank in, though, I was like, wait a minute, though, that was who I was. There's nobody who needs me right now. My phone's not ringing. There's not responsibilities. There's not challenges. There's not problems. There's not whatever. When people ask me what I did, I didn't have a title. I didn't have, and so I started talking about it. I found people that had sold their businesses and done even better than I did, and they all related with me. They said that it was one of the most depressing times of their life.
100%.
And so what it did is it helped me realize how much the things and all these goals that I had weren't what really was going to make me happy. It was really getting good with me. And so I went deeper into committing to, my family, my relationship with my wife, and really finding out what brought me purpose and what was, it was a really good time. It was a very depressing time and a very challenging time for me.
But like, so you're through it. That's 18, 19, it's 22 now. I know you well enough to know that you can look back on that and say, wow, what a correction.
Oh yeah.
And how much your family's probably benefited from it. Even though the exit wasn't ideal, it really got you hyper-focused on what matters. And like, I'm sure you've grown 10x as like 100%. A man.
Yes.
In like a 3-year period.
Yeah.
Versus just like another $10 million in your bank account.
100%.
And I know whoever's listening to this, like
I'd rather have 10 million.
It's easy to say like, oh, but I want $10 million. But like until you've walked that road and you're kind of like staring back and going like, hey, what's most important? It kind of threw you into the throngs.
I had the golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
I would have never left that toxic culture.
No, man.
I was making too much.
Yes.
Life was too easy.
So much money.
And God's like, no, this is what you need.
God, Buddha, Bart Simpson, like whatever you want to call it, man. I mean, just stuff happens. Like I kind of shared, I've never been a huge believer in, destiny, so to speak. I think we live in a world of chaos, meaning what can and will happen, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? And it's our responsibility to choose how we respond to it. It's just because just stuff happens. Like I could walk out today, get in my truck, get T-boned. Something could just happen. And so I know that sounds easy too, but I mean, it's exactly what you did. You had a gun to your head. You were forced to merge. You got a raw deal. You made a little bit of money. You're sitting there with an identity crisis and not what to do. And you chose to like look inwards, take more accountability, and then really hyper-focus on like the home front. And probably solidified a really solid foundation so that now like your next move or moves are going to be even better. Like you already had all the skills you need to take that next leap, but you were probably just dealing with like, do I really have it? Am I really as good as I think I am?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a big thing. People it's probably a part of anyone that sells their business, especially if it's their first business, their first big business, right? You kind of wonder like,
did I get lucky?
Did I get lucky? Could I duplicate this? Can I do anything else? Or am I just a door-to-door owner? Like, am I that guy? And I've seen a lot of guys that, got folded in or, were in the door-to-door space and they just went right back to door-to-door and had to stick in that thing. And I had that as a fear. I wanted to prove to myself that I was more than just that. And it's been very, very fulfilling to go out and start doing other things and learning other things and being out of my comfort zone again.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a human need.
Yeah. Well, is it a human need?
I think
is it a human
we
need
need variety.
To be uncomfortable?
We need variety. We need challenge, right?
Oh,
we need growth.
For sure. Growth,
right?
for sure.
You need growth. And I wasn't going to grow in that space. I was pretty complacent.
You mastered it.
Yeah. I mean, I had told guys for years, once they got their third, fourth deal and it's only 7:00 at night, don't just go home. Like, keep pushing. Go for the next one. One more, right? You got the momentum, 100%. Right? But then I realized once I got to that point, like, dude, I was kind of cruising. I was on kind of on cruise control.
No, I get it.
And so this has been really good for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, that's usually like the last question, but let's transition. I mean, again, you have such a unique experience. It's not your traditional sale.
Yeah.
This was a gun to the head, like narco sale that you've pushed through. You've done well. You've transitioned. So let's talk about the transition.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing now? Like, I know that you like bought half of Alabama or something like that. I saw a post one time.
Yeah.
Like, what's that? What's that all?
Yeah. So
about that.
I've been doing real estate deals.
Okay.
I've had real estate here in Utah since 2012, building up. I only had 7 doors, but I've been looking at different opportunities. I wanted to expand that. I wanted to get outside of the state of Utah. I wanted to learn the different types of real estate. So I have a multifamily, I have a single family, I have townhomes, I have condo, but I didn't have any. I didn't have any single family, just my own home. And so I wanted to look into single family and I wanted to look into different demographics. So I've got like a doctor in one and I've got, so
it's a little bit more diversified.
More diversified. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway. Did you have any experience in real estate prior to that?
Just my 7th here that I've managed myself and I've been running, right? And so I started looking in Kansas City at multifamily and single family. Then I went to Arkansas, and I was talking to a guy in my office and just telling him how I wanted to diversify, I want to get out. And he's like, oh, I've done a lot in Alabama. He's like, I've had houses there for 8 years. Bought a number of houses out there. You can buy lower income homes. And they cash flow really well. And I said, well, if you see opportunities out there, let me know. I'm interested. A week later, he comes back to me. He's like, dude, I just found a portfolio of 60 houses.
Nice.
And I was like, put it under contract. Like, let's tie this thing up. Let's go look at it. Let's see it. We flew right out there. We looked at it. I had just looked at Arkansas. I had looked at a few different things, and it checked all the boxes. They were nicer than the ones in Arkansas. They were cash flowing more than the ones in Arkansas. The price point was lower than that. He had a property management company out there
in place.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so,
do you consider this a long-term play, or is it a short-term play? Like, what's your outlook on those real estate deals?
We've got options.
Okay.
And that's what I wanted to have with it is there's 60 single-family homes. They cash flow really well. But they're really lower end homes. Like, there's no houses you're going to find cheaper than these houses.
Like
$60,000 houses, right? Yeah. You can't find that product anymore. Okay. So as far as appreciation goes, those are going to only appreciate. So I think long term, that $60,000 house can go to $100,000 in 5 years. You're not going to get 100%.
So you'll just watch the market and try to
watch the market there
accordingly.
Yeah.
It's super hot.
Yeah.
Those 60s turn into 150s. Yeah. You might exit.
And right now,
1031 it, roll it into another deal.
100%.
Like
yeah. If we get a 1031 option sooner, that makes more sense. Great.
Yeah.
But the cash flow is really well.
Good.
It's got a potential to appreciate. And we have options that we could split off of the 60. We could sell them to somebody who can't qualify for homes, and we could self-finance them because of our entry point and everything. So
cool. So you're doing some real estate investing. Anything else?
Yeah, I've done some PO financing, some hard money loans, done some different investment stuff. I've got a coaching group. Started 2 years ago. So it's personal and business development.
Yeah.
I've got 14 guys. First year I did 10 guys. 8 of the 10 renewed for the next year. I decided to expand and grow a little bit more. It's a small portion of my time, but it's the most personal and business development. Okay. So what I found is most of these guys come to me thinking, hey, Jeremy's had a lot of success in business.
Sure.
Most of them own their own business. Some of them are high level sales or executives that have a desire to leave and start their own thing, run their own thing, but they're trying to figure out how to do that. That's probably been one of the most fulfilling parts is seeing I've got 3 guys that have now done that.
Nice.
Or in the process of transitioning out, and one of these guys that's trying to buy another business. Yeah. That's been fun to kind of help them. Really, it's just overcoming fears. Most of them come thinking, hey, he can help me fix my business. And they realize, no, it's really just what am I afraid? What do you want? What are you afraid of that's holding you back?
So if somebody's interested in checking out your coaching stuff, where's that at?
You can find me on Instagram. My website is on there.
There's like 6 Jeremy Neveses ____
always, right?
On Instagram.
That's a good point. I'm at Jeremy Neves with 1 underscore afterwards.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
People love to become you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
My wife's always like, is this the right one?
Yeah.
Like, no, that's 3 underscores.
Yeah.
That's the guy in Thailand.
Dude, there's a 12-year-old in every basement in India.
I know, they're like, this
trying to be me. I don't know what it is.
This guy.
And then, recently I've started talking with you about, what you're doing, brokering deals and buying and selling businesses. Yep. That to me is what makes me come alive and really gets me excited.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff in the marketplace. I mean, to give Jeremy some kudos, we were in the Bahamas diving with some sharks, kind of connected. We spent some time together. And a lot of people will come up to me. I told you this. A lot of people always come up like, hey, man, I'd love to work with you. And I'm like, for sure. But no one ever follows through. I get home from the Bahamas, and this guy's like, all right, I got 12 calls lined up. Like, what does your week look like? Okay, let's make it happen. So we do 12 calls. I mean, all of them are not going to be great. But as you've seen, we've kind of whittled that down to 4 really solid deals. And we've pretty much got like 1 to 2 to stick. And one of them's phenomenal. Yeah. So, we're definitely working on some stuff. But I think the thing there is, you followed through. Yeah. Like a lot of people will want to do stuff, but talk is cheap, or they want people to spoon feed them deals. Yeah. You're still out there hungry, you're willing to learn, kind of grind with it, which I've really respected. And it's been great. So, well, anyways, man, I'm going to ask you 3 rapid fire questions and then we're just going to kind of call it good. So if you could recommend to anybody a book, like your top book, because I know you're super into personal development, what would that be? Give me just one book that you love.
Oh, geez.
Oh, geez, the book?
Oh, geez. I literally, like, right when you said that, I'm like, I don't know.
Give me a book. What are you reading right now?
I don't know. Let me look at my phone.
Please do.
I've got to give you a good recommendation. My last time I told somebody a book,
It wasn't solid?
I didn't feel good about the book that I had said. It was just the one that came to my mind at that time.
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. You were into that one?
Right?
Yeah.
So on the personal development front, The Way of the Superior Man.
Okay.
Way of the
By
Superior
who?
Man. David Dita.
David Dita. How many times you read it? Once?
Twice.
2 times. That means it must be a good book.
Yeah.
Okay.
4 agreements. Okay, just one.
Second question.
Yeah.
If you could give anybody one piece of advice on what it takes to be successful, what would that be? Just a simple mantra. Like, what is that?
Start.
Start.
Yeah.
Just get out
I think
and
the
do.
biggest problem, I know for me, it's always been starting. You can overanalyze. You can get analysis by paralysis. You can come up with all the reasons why you shouldn't, all the things you don't know how to do. You can come up with all the stories of what people are going to think about you, all the things that can go wrong. And you can spend all the time in the world trying to learn what you need to learn in order to then be successful. I'm all about ready, fire, aim. Just start.
I love it.
Start, and then you will learn along the way, and resources will show up, people will show up. It's the same thing that the way our relationship started.
Yeah.
I saw something that really intrigued me, and I didn't want to just be talk. We'll see where it goes, but I start, and I've already learned a ton.
Yeah,
I'm getting a lot more excitement. I'm understanding way more. I didn't know a lot, you know, but I'm learning a ton now. So my number one advice to people is start, show up, and do it.
That's solid.
Yeah.
That's solid advice right there. Final thing, looking back, Jeremy, what did you learn about selling your business, and what would you have done differently?
Yeah. So the business was great in the sense that it had really good cash flow and they were making really good money.
Right.
What I would do differently is I wouldn't have concentrated my business on having one customer, one client, one vendor have such a big hold on the business.
Makes sense.
Customer concentration in any business can really screw you.
Well, for
that's what it did.
That's what happened, right?
I had one client, I had, AT&T, one contract, and it was 99% of my business.
Right.
Had it been 20% of my business, they could have come and said that, and we could have moved on and continued on with the business, and I would have been in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
But because they had the control over the business, that dictated the outcome of the business. So I would do that different in any business going forward.
So you would have diversified and not had all your eggs in one basket, like a vendor basket, so to speak.
Yes.
I mean, granted, you would have taken a dip, but if it would have only been 20%, you would have been able to decide,
100%.
Should I sell? Should I not sell? You wouldn't have had that gun to your head.
Absolutely.
Okay, so going forward with businesses that you're getting involved in, that's obviously a priority
100%.
for you, right?
100%.
Where you're in control and you get to decide whether you want to sell or not.
Yep.
That's a great lesson.
100%.
It's a great lesson. Even though you made a lot of money, you went through a pretty tough lesson that it was like, hey, they had all the leverage over you on that.
That's when you transition from actually having a high-paying job to actually owning a business. You got to have diversification there.
Because
there's market controls that are against, market things that are out of your control. There's shifts in the market. There's government. There's, all sorts of things that can change. And if everything is heavily weighted in one area, you're in trouble.
You could just be swept away.
Any business.
That makes sense. That's it. I'm going to call it good. Hey, as always, we appreciate you listening to the American Business Broker podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lindsay. If any listeners are out there that want to buy or sell a business, please hit us up at AmericanBizBrokers.com, or you can call me directly at 866-224-8386.